Good evening and a very, very warm welcome to the Reiki Revolution Live. Let's just make sure that everyone is there, that it's all working. Now I can see some people having joined. It's so scary. The scariest thing about this broadcast is that I need to press all the right buttons. And if I don't, then nobody can see anything or hear anything. It'll be a complete mess. But my wonderful videographer went through everything with me. So I'm sure it's going to work out okay. Let's just wait a moment for a few more people to join us on this summery day, summery evening, wherever you are in the world. Let's just have a look at some of the lovely comments. Hello to Warrington, hello to Rhode Island, USA. Hello to France, I think. Hello to Rochester, Wirral, Winchester, Costa Blanca. Oh, I would love to be there right now. It's so wonderful to have so many people here joining us. And it's going to be a real, it is really going to create a real community that we are having on the show. And it's just so important to have this support in these really, really difficult times. Today, I would like to start just with a few moments of meditation. So I would just like everybody to gently close your eyes and just bring your awareness to your breathing. Just notice that you're breathing in and notice that you're breathing out. This famous expression that we so often hear in meditation instructions, just follow your breath. Just feel your breath coming in for a moment and going out for a moment. And now let's make the exhalation twice as long as the inhalation. Just breathe in, and then when you breathe out, allow the breath to take anything that bothers you, any tension, any anxiety, any worries, any stress. Just let it take that away from you. Just for a few moments, follow your breathing, slowly breathing in, making the exhalation twice as long as the inhalation. And then when you're ready, just return to normal breathing and open your eyes again. So hello again to everybody who has just joined the Reiki Revolution live show today on Tuesday, the 27th of June. And I'm looking at my notes, and I'm sometimes looking a little bit around, which basically is not just because I'm weird, but there's lots of information on my screen. There are the comments and there are some occasional buttons to press. And then I also made a few notes about what I wanted to say and what I wanted to share. So please forgive me for that and try to overlook my sometimes slightly erratic behavior. I wanted to share a few things tonight. One is that I have been receiving a lot of emails asking whether I would be able to offer some personal help, Reiki, and coaching. And for quite some time, I always thought, well, I teach Reiki and then people can use it themselves. But if I'm honest, I often speak with friends and with other therapists and get advice as well. So I know how important it is to sometimes get some advice, some coaching, some help from other people who may just look at things from a different perspective and can help us being guided in the direction that we ought to go and often can't really see. So over the summer, I've decided to offer a limited number of one-to-one sessions, both live in person in London and online. And you can have a look at what's on offer at the Reiki Academy London website. And if I find that here, I'm just going to put that in reikiacademylondon.com. And under treatments, you find a sub page, I think it's called, spiritual life coaching. And it basically shows what I offer. It often will be a combination of Reiki with spiritual guidance, intuitive insight, bringing the guides in, maybe regression to childhood or even ideas of past life, because I've trained in that, and I'm also a high performance coach. So if you feel that would be helpful to get a session to look at some issues in your life, to kind of open up this feeling of being stuck that so many people at the moment so strongly have, then please do have a look and use the email there to get in touch, and we can arrange a session. I also wanted to say a few words about the Reiki Revolution. The show is called The Reiki Revolution Live because it's live, but it is about the Reiki Revolution. And the Reiki Revolution is an idea. And a few days ago, I received an email from a lady. It was a really lovely email, but she voiced some concern about the wisdom of using the word revolution in connection with Reiki. She felt it wasn't really very gentle and loving as it could be, and revolution sounded very spontaneous and harsh and radical. So let's just take a few little moments looking at what the Reiki Revolution really is all about. And I did Google it. Wikipedia says that in political science, and that's maybe part of that. I'm a trained political scientist. In political science, revolution, coming from the Latin word revolutio, meaning a turn around, is a fundamental and relatively sudden change in political power and political organization, which occurs when the population revolts against the government. So there's a revolt, and it's against the government. But the original idea of a revolution basically is a turn around. We all know famous revolutions in history. Many have been very violent, often not with very lasting impact, but often very unpleasant impact. Because these revolutions were coming out of anger and fear and hatred. Do we really have to base change on that? Or is it possible to base change on love and peace? I mean, it's obvious when we look around that the world needs major change. The question is how we can achieve that. And I strongly believe that with love, we have a much more powerful tool to bring in the change than with anger or hatred. But we still need to turn things around a lot. And the world, of course, is as it is because it is a reflection of our inner turmoil, our inner problems. So when we want a revolution to be a success, we need to revolutionize ourselves before. In fact, I feel we don't really need to do much else but to revolutionize ourselves and to act from the point of love, oneness, connection, and all that is in Reiki. Reiki is the connection, Reiki is the tool, Reiki helps us on this path. And of course, it's very difficult to feel this connection all the time in everyday life. And this is why we need to really work on us. And it's a lot of work. But once we become the change we want to see, once we feel the peace that we want to see in the world, then we automatically radiate it. And other people will be drawn to that. That's the idea behind the Reiki revolution. I'm currently working on a book or manifesto, whatever you want to call it, about this revolution, and we'll dedicate a lot of time to that over the next few weeks. And there is a major event in London on the 30th of July called Reiki for Inner Peace. It's organized by Alternatives, a fantastic platform for spiritual events. And it's going to be a live event in central London, but it's also being live streamed. And there's a replay available. So it's available worldwide. And I really hope this is going to be the starting point to find more inner peace and then to bring more into the world, followed by a coaching program in August. And again, on the Reiki Academy London website, I managed, just before the show, I managed to put a link in there under upcoming events. You'll find that, and when you click through, you get all the information, but I will also put it in future mail outs and newsletters and so on. It's just so important to find this inner peace. The world is as it is because there's no peace. And there is no peace because we don't really feel a very deep inner peace most of the time. And this is what Reiki can really help us to find again. And that's the whole idea, to do a peaceful, a loving revolution, but to change everything. Not to leave a single stone unturned. Everything needs to be changed with love. And Reiki is the big tool for that. And as I'm there and as I'm talking about these things at the moment, I just realized I had quite some turmoil recently in my life. Among that was a cancelled trip to the United States. So at the moment I have a voucher for a flight. So if anybody wants to organize an event there, Reiki for Inner Peace, a get-together where I would be helpful, I've got a voucher. I'd be very happy to pop over. So if you feel you want to do something and organize something and be helpful to do that together, then please be in touch. This is really what I wanted to share, just a few little things about the Reiki revolution. In everyday life, we tend to kind of focus on other things to relax. We watch a film, or so many people watch some videos on YouTube of dogs, of cats, of pets, of animal friendships. And immediately they kind of take us out of the stress and anger, and they fill us with love and appreciation. And it's just so cute and it's so beautiful. But of course, animals are suffering as well. And animals can majorly benefit from Reiki. In fact, so often when people start learning Reiki, they'll feel a different kind of connection to animals around. The neighbor's cat that always ran away suddenly comes up and doesn't want to leave us again. And things like that. But they just feel that there is a change, there's an openness, there is love, they can feel the energy. And this is why I'm so excited that today my guest is a specialist in this field. And I'm going to add her now. Hello, Sue. So
Hello.
wonderful having you here.
Thank you.
Hello, Sue in Yorkshire. It's fantastic that you're here. And before we start chatting a little bit, let me look at my notes and introduce you properly, because you have achieved so much already. So Sue Malcolm is the UK Reiki Federation Animal Reiki Coordinator. She's a Reiki Master, practitioner and teacher, and Animal Reiki Master, practitioner and teacher with 11 years of Reiki experience, especially helping animals in rescue centers. Sue has co-authored a book, Understanding Animals, a working guide for Reiki practitioners, and led a project to develop national training standards for animal Reiki in the UK. The criteria for animal Reiki practitioner recognition and course accreditation. She runs the Reiki Experience in Yorkshire and a sanctuary we'll talk about more called Friends of Baxter Animal Care. And it's her goal for Reiki to become more mainstream and available for all animals with respect from the veterinary profession. That's one word I'm always struggling with to pronounce. So you have done an incredible lot in this field, and I have been very privileged over the last few years to watch that very closely, because I am on the Reiki Council in the UK, and with this book that you co-authored. In fact, you didn't really co-author it, you primarily wrote it. But apart from that, it was published under the umbrella of the Reiki Council. So you've done an incredible lot. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Very warm welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and nice to see you again, Torsten.
So, we really just want to have a conversation and see how it goes, and then invite some questions from the listeners about animal Reiki and maybe specific ways to use it. But to start with, let me just ask the question most of the time I start with: how did you come to Reiki in your life?
Okay, this goes back several years. And at the time, my life and my work was about human nutrition. I knew nothing about Reiki, and I didn't believe in anything natural. I very much monitored the European health claims. Nothing natural was being approved, or very few, and I just thought natural things don't work. So what I'm going to say now was more of a surprise to me than to any of you, I suspect, certainly at the time. And what happened was I'd been working in my field of nutrition. I'd been in the retail industry, and then setting up my own consultancy and doing that for a few years. And I just came to a crossroads. I thought, I need some new excitement, some new inspiration, a new challenge, because I'd always believed my work should be a hobby. And if it wasn't a hobby, I was in the wrong job. So I was looking for basically a new hobby that I'd be paid for. And sitting in bed one Sunday morning, I was just looking out of the window, beautiful blue sky, clear, sun's shining, and all of a sudden I just felt something on the side of my head and said, oh my goodness. And the words inside my head were along the lines of, your purpose in life is to help sick, abandoned and cruelly treated animals. And I thought, but I don't really know much about animals. We had a dog when I was a child, but other than that, I don't know much. But I love the idea. And given that I was looking for a new challenge, I thought, okay, so where would I go with this? And coincidences kept happening. And of course, we know coincidences aren't just coincidences, they're steps on your journey. And one of these was me driving along the motorway at 60 miles an hour, having dropped my daughter off at school. And I saw this picture in my forehead, which now obviously I know is my third eye, of me stroking an little dog. And as a result of it, the dog got better. And I told a friend, and she said, oh, you must come to my house on Thursday. I'm having a handbag and jewellery party, but my sister and my friend are coming, and they've just done a Reiki course, and they've got a lovely story about Reiki with animals that I think would interest you. So I went along, and my friend's sister told me about her little mini Yorkshire Terrier who had a slip disc. This had just been diagnosed by the vet, and surgery had been booked in about a week's time. And so every day, my friend's sister lifted up her little dog, put her on her lap, put her hands on her back very gently, and intended for Reiki to flow. Her hands got very warm, the dog fell fast asleep, and she thought nothing more of it. She took her dog to the vets on the morning of the operation, and the vet phoned mid-morning and said, "Hello, what have you done?" So she said, "Reiki, why?" I said, "Well, we've just x-rayed your little dog and the spine is perfectly in line. So the Reiki has obviously done more than we expected. Would you like to come and pet your dog? There's no need for surgery." And so I thought,
How
wow,
amazing is that?
okay. And then there was another story, which was the friend of the friend, who told me about a horse that was so severely lame that the vet had been and visited and said, "Really sorry, nothing we can do, you'll have to shoot the horse." And a Reiki practitioner who had trained in animal Reiki offered Reiki a couple of sessions. There was a little bit of improvement. 6 months later, that horse was galloping around as if nothing had ever happened. And I thought, I had to learn this therapy. It may not be what happens every time, but if it wasn't dramatic, I wouldn't have taken notes. And
I think
I
that's
was
so amazing what you're saying, because I'm sure this seemingly random things like friends coming around, your sister, and they met somebody, and then Reiki coming into life. And so I'm sure this is how so many people can relate to, because this is just how it often happens, the start of Reiki.
Yeah.
So you want to then to obviously learn this modality yourself.
Yes, well, I learnt Reiki level 1 and 2, and then realised that even though my teachers did some work with animals, I wanted to know more. So I learnt animal Reiki 1 and 2, and then went on to do master and teacher at both levels. But I also realised that even though I'd done the training, my animal Reiki teachers knew lots about animals because they'd had animals all their lives and they had several. I didn't. So I thought I really need to know more about understanding animals as well. And this was why I then went on to include that in teaching, and felt that that was such an important part of animal Reiki training that should be included.
And what is that specifically about animals that you then additionally learned?
Okay, so some of the work was online, but it was backed up with practical work. And I think there's no better way to learn than observing and learning from animals. They are our best teachers. So I helped at a dog rescue centre for a few years. I helped at dog training classes. I then went to other rescue centres and learned from different animals. But I also did some online courses. And I just gained through experience as well as studying. And then wanted to share my knowledge. So
And so
there's
you
a
came
whole
basically up with a curriculum where what you felt that really needed to be taught to make it more professional.
It was largely about things that are legal. So, for example, making sure we understand any legislation, veterinary legislation that must apply when we offer Reiki to animals. Understanding a little bit about body language, so that if an animal is trying to tell you, "I really don't like this," as an early warning sign, we're picking up on it.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about anatomy, very, very basic, but if somebody phones up and says, "Oh, could you send some distant healing to my dog? It's got a broken tibia," you could actually say, "Oh, well, which leg is that?" Rather than just, "Oh, tibia, what's that? Is that a bone? Where is it?" And it just gives the owner a little bit more confidence. So it isn't necessary for Reiki. We know Reiki will flow if we have compassion, but these types of things are really important. And then safety aspects, because everybody wants to make sure their animal is safe, you're safe, and anybody else is around. So those are key components, and then just really how to offer Reiki to animals to make sure that they trust you and they feel confident.
And your idea is to bring that more into the mainstream. So part of what you're then teaching and including in that, and that is now part of the guidance for animal Reiki, really is about making it more respected by the veterinary profession.
Yes, yes. So this is part of the training, and the reason why I think it's so important and why I first decided to do this, I was talking to somebody who had actually they worked at the Royal Veterinary College, and they had a colleague who had observed somebody offer Reiki to animals. And the view had been that this particular person, maybe they were just learning, didn't really know anything about animals. And the view was, if that is how Reiki practitioners work with animals, it isn't something that as a profession we see as something that we can really get behind. But more importantly, I think also the veterinary profession require every complementary therapy to be backed by scientific evidence. And we don't really have scientific evidence for Reiki for animals. So that is another little project on the to-do list.
There is little. There is a project with Anne Baldwin from years ago, where she, a professor for physiology at the University of Tucson, Arizona, and she worked with either mice or rats at the time. I'm not sure. And so she set up this project where they were left in a room that was extremely noisy next to a very busy street. And they took blood samples, and obviously there were the stress hormones very, very high. And then she invited Reiki practitioners, and they gave Reiki treatments. And again, they took the blood, and the stress hormones significantly reduced. Which I then so loved was that as a result of that, she learned Reiki herself and gave up using animals in her research, because she didn't think ethically that was something she couldn't do anymore. But it's a great thing to go in this direction. But of course, it's really, really helpful to have more scientific evidence. Yes, that's definitely.
So scientific evidence is absolutely key, and I think we should really very much focus on relaxation, because most animals who receive Reiki or choose to receive Reiki relax, and as a result of that relaxation there are lots of other benefits. But rather than focusing on the end benefit, if we focus on the relaxation, then that is going to apply to most of the animals, and that is a support to anybody who works with or owns animals, and it's a help to the animals whatever their situation.
It's probably a little bit easier to prove that as well. But in our conversation for tonight, you mentioned that there was another aspect that came to you almost as a surprise. Not just that the animals really benefit from Reiki, but there is a level of understanding that can really be called communication.
Yes, so this happened actually with the very first dog that I offered a series of sessions to. And this dog had cancer, and terminal cancer, and was in a rescue centre. And I hadn't had a dog for over 30 years, and I really wanted a dog. And twice a week, at least, I was going along to this rescue to offer Reiki to this animal. And felt as though I developed a really strong, compassionate bond, but I respected also the fact that this dog didn't really want a lot of Reiki, and when she did, she wanted it from 10 feet away. And that was absolutely fine. She chose where she wanted it, and that's exactly how it should be. But it wasn't until something happened and she hurt her leg that I learned something from this particular dog. And I just said, "Oh, what have you done to your leg?" Not really expecting an answer. And she picked up a frisbee and bashed me on the leg. And I thought, I know you want to play with the frisbee, and I hadn't realised, put two and two together, until she bashed me on the knee and then bashed me on the head. And the penny dropped, and I thought, oh my goodness, you're showing me where you, or how you've hurt your leg. And that was absolutely true. She'd been hit by a frisbee on her leg, and that was how she hurt it. And other things happened along these lines. And when I went to see her, there were more communications. And a few weeks later, sadly, she didn't really last much longer, but a few weeks later, I was visiting her, and it was a really hot day, and she was lying in the sun, and I was just asking her how she felt. And I just got the words back of an elegant elderly lady, as if she was just speaking in my head, just saying, "It's sore." And so I just answered back, shall I ask for the rescue owner to come and perhaps take you to the vets and see if we can have something that will take the pain away? And immediately I felt as though she had taken that to mean, should she go to the vets, to have something that would end her life and take the pain away. And I saw a tear trickle down her cheek.
Wow.
And the only reason I'd particularly gone back that day was that I'd gone to see her the previous day and offered her some Reiki. And at the end, she'd licked my hand, and that was the first and only time she ever licked my hand. And I felt as though she was saying goodbye. And that's why I had to go back that following day. And I believe that this happens because of the strong, unconditional love that we feel in Reiki. And when we feel that with animals, we can sometimes get this unbelievable connection, and we're on the same wavelength. And there are so many phrases that I talk about in Reiki training where we use them in everyday language, like on the same wavelength, and it really has a meaning, and we literally are, and we're sharing communications.
So do you teach, or are there ways to learn this communication separately, or is it more for you coming through Reiki and the connection that we create with Reiki?
Okay, I was taught by a dog. I don't think that is the normal route, but I do think that everybody who feels immense compassion and can connect with an animal without putting in the effort, just that unconditional love, that communications can flow. However, if you want to do it professionally as part of Reiki treatments or as animal communication on its own, then it's important to get a proper qualification.
Mm-hmm.
But I use it regularly, and I remember when I started going to the cat rescue, and I was there for several years helping, and I would ask any cats if they would be interested in some Reiki, and I would stay from a distance and just explain who I was and why I was there, and if you'd like some Reiki, I'll just sit here and you can take it from me if you like, and I'm not coming any nearer, so you're perfectly safe, and if you want to put your head down, you can. And the moment I said that, they put their head down. And I just thought, oh my goodness, they're just feeling at ease. They've understood what I've said. They know I'm not going to go any nearer. They're not feeling threatened, and they're happy to just put their head down.
So from that, I take that you wouldn't necessarily advise, as we often do with a human client, to just say, I'm now going to place my hands, and then you put the hands. With animals, you have to take a slightly different approach and basically let them come to you. You just offer Reiki, but not necessarily your hands on their body or very close.
Absolutely. How I would summarize that would be that I offer Reiki to animals, I give Reiki to people, because we don't speak to animals in the same way that we speak to people. And it's important to give them the choice. Do they want the Reiki? And if so, how far away, when, for how long? Yes, they should be in charge, really. And if they're in charge, they feel safe.
Yes. And of course, you talk a lot about rescue homes. So of course, that is exactly where animals are that don't feel safe at all. So they have been taken out of unsafe environments, had run away, and often were exposed to cruelty, normally from humans. And so they need to learn the trust again.
Absolutely. When I was helping at the first dog rescue I supported for a few years, there were all sorts of incidents, and I remember one case where the owner woke up one morning and just found a dog tied to the outside of his gate with a label around his neck, please take him in and look after him. So sometimes there are no ideas where these animals have come from, and it's just a case of taking them in and helping them to trust people again. But animals are so loving, and they are so sensitive to energy, and a lot of them will just recognize that you're a lovely person and quite quickly come round. Others take longer. It all depends on what they've gone through and the situation. But talking about energy sensitivity and coming back to Reiki, there's another lovely story that I'd love to share about, and it shows how sensitive animals are and how they also love the Reiki. And this was a particular example where I'd promised to send Reiki to a human client, and she'd asked for me to send the Reiki at 10:30 when she was just going to bed, so that she'd be nice and relaxed, and when she woke up in the morning she'd feel better. So I started sending the Reiki at 10:30, and I was very tired too, and unfortunately I fell asleep halfway through the treatment and woke up at 3:30 in the morning. When I woke up, I thought, oh, she won't notice if I just send the rest of the treatment now. I'll do another half hour at 3:30, and then in the morning she should feel super. So in the morning she got in touch and she said, did you by any chance send some Reiki at 3:30? And I said, oh, I'm sorry, did it wake you up? He said, no, it was just that my cat loved Reiki and jumped up on the bed next to me at 3:30 for about half an hour, and I thought you must have been sending some Reiki.
This is just extraordinary. They are just so incredibly sensitive, and it's just extraordinary. I'm just going to put in your website, thereikiexperience.co.uk, Sue Markham, where there's a lot about what you do, your work, and links on there as well. Is there a link to the book that people can get as well?
No, that is on the UK Reiki Federation site.
Okay, so you are the coordinator for Animal Reiki for the UK Reiki Federation, and there you do a lot of work, and you also train people. There's an event coming up, if I'm not mistaken, quite soon.
Yes, I'll take it back a step and do one by one. So with regard to the UK Reiki Federation, I've been their animal coordinator or animal Reiki coordinator for quite a number of years, and it was several years ago that I thought, oh, wouldn't it be a good idea for us to have some standards for our members? And then we thought about it at a meeting and decided, actually, wouldn't it be better to make them industry standards for anybody who would like to work with animals? So it was then that the work started with the Reiki Council and brought in all the Reiki Council organisations to set training standards. So we have national occupational standards for animal Reiki, and from those we have developed criteria that the various organisations who are offering animal Reiki recognition, or in the case of the UK Federation, membership with annual certificate. So all of the organisations got together to agree the criteria and then offer this recognition and membership. And now
just
we also
explain that a little bit more to people who are not so familiar. Reiki Fed.uk, I think, is the website for the Reiki Federation. I'm just going to put that in with the links. In the UK, there is a core curriculum of Reiki teaching, and all the Reiki organizations like the Reiki Federation, Association, Alliance, and so on, they came together about 20 years ago and started working on what needs to be taught to practice Reiki professionally. And that sets a very high standard. And this is why Reiki is accepted in so many hospitals, and you can even be on an official register. The Complementary Natural Healthcare Council, the CNHC, is running that, and be a registered Reiki professional. And so what you do is basically based on this to do something similar, starting with some very intense guidance for the for animal Reiki, so that more and more it's being brought into animal hospitals and rescue centers and veterinary clinics.
Absolutely, yes. We now also have accreditation for animal Reiki practitioner courses, so that anybody who wishes to train well could look for one of these accredited courses. And the most popular question that I receive and have done ever since I've joined the UK Reiki Federation is, where can I do good quality training?
Yes.
So in weeks, months and years to come, we will have more and more courses for people to choose from, and that will be a really positive aspect. And then finally, yes, on the 19th of July, we will have an event which is specifically a discussion talk between myself and 3 of our animal Reiki practitioner members, who have all spent significant time helping rescue animals, primarily in rescue centres. So we're just going to share some knowledge, share some experiences, and again there'll be an opportunity for questions, and that will be on the Reiki Fed website on the events page.
Do you have any experience with some more exotic pets or animals? So it's primarily dogs and cats, I take it.
Dogs, cats and donkeys. I help and have helped regularly at a donkey sanctuary.
Right.
To start with, the donkeys were a little bit, oh, what's this? This is quite interesting. And they'd come along and take a little bit. And I'd take along 1 or 2 students with me. And I remember in the early days, there was a particular paddock, and I would say, right, don't put your hands on the animals, but just put your hands there if the animals want to come near, or just let it flow into the paddock. And one donkey came running over, so we thought, okay, and one of my students put their hands over, but quite a distance above, and the donkey worked through. So it started with the head under the hands, and then the body moved along and along till they got to the end, and they went out, and the next one came under, and they actually formed a queue. They formed a queue, almost like a Reiki conveyor belt. And a few weeks after we'd done that, they, as soon as they see us, it's all like, oh, Reiki ladies, and they just charge towards us. It's helped so many of the donkeys in so many ways. And again, just to give a little example, there was one donkey who I felt a particular connection with, and she hadn't been to the toilet for almost 24 hours, and the sanctuary owners were getting very worried and said, if this carries on, we need to call a vet. So I said, well, I'll offer some Reiki and see what happens. So I offered her some Reiki, and I just felt the most incredible feeling of a broken heart. And what I then discovered was that her best friend had moved into another field to help socialise another donkey. And she basically thought she'd lost her best friend. So I explained this. Her best friend came back straight away. Her body functioned as normal and everything was fine. She didn't need a vet. So sometimes Reiki can help animals in the most unexpected but wonderful ways. And can save vet bills when vet wasn't absolutely necessary. But obviously, veterinary treatment is a priority if there is an issue.
And that's just so extraordinary. What I found quite fascinating when I started working on this project of the Reiki Revolution, there was some guidance coming in or being channeled. And one was that on the third level or third realm of existence in the universe, the experiences of a soul can be gained in a human body or the body of an animal. And there was no difference. And I found that absolutely fascinating. And what you are talking about, telling about this communication, this level of understanding, the similarities, of course, make that much, brings this idea much more to life. And of course, animals have feelings, they can suffer, they are sad, they feel pain, they feel love. And often it is the love of an animal that can be so incredibly helpful for humans to find their love, their heart again, and feel being loved. It's just a wonderful, wonderful work that you do.
Yes, actually, that is exactly what happened at this donkey sanctuary that I regularly go to. And it started with the daughter who'd had problems with school, and there were issues that I won't go into, but it was a donkey that helped her get better. And as a result of that, she wanted more, and then more, and then more. And Mum kept saying, go on then. And so they ended up having a sanctuary, and she now is largely running it. So it's wonderful. Yes.
That's just amazing. When I suppose a lot of people who are listening today will have pets. What's your advice to form a closer bond with our own pets using Reiki?
First of all, I would say let the animal choose if they like Reiki. Rather than what a lot of people do, which is just go up to the animal and put your hands on. We were talking about this earlier. So, for example, I know that I will often give Reiki to myself, and my dog is a Reiki sponge. And when I'm giving Reiki to myself, he will jump up on the bed next to me. And the days that he zones in, all I can hear is and he is absolutely out for the count, and I know he's zoned in. Other than that, he will ask for Reiki if he's got issues, if he's got aches and pains. And I think it's very much about listening to our animals, observing them, and perhaps getting to know a little bit about body language or calming signals for what they're trying to say to you. Because so often people say to me, I feel as though my dog or my cat or my rabbit is trying to say something to me, but I don't understand what. So sometimes through Reiki, we can build that connection because we're just in that really quiet space where this communication or energy flows. Other times it was just a case of maybe offering the Reiki, but not with any expectation, and allowing the animal to take it at their pace if they want to, and how they want to.
Great. Of
When
course, you
I
can send Reiki to wild animals.
Yes.
You wouldn't necessarily stand right next to them, but you can do that from a distance or using even the distant or connection symbol, and
Yes.
then over a field or in the zoo through a cage, you can send Reiki there as well.
Yes, I've done most of those. And more. I remember offering Reiki to a little robin. I was walking, and this robin was flying from tree to tree, almost following me or keeping up with me. And so it stopped, and I stopped. And I thought, right, well, let's just offer you some Reiki and see if you'd like some. So I was several feet away, and I could see the feathers just sort of twitching and fluttering a bit. And then the bird would look towards my hand as if to say, I know there's something coming from there, but I've not had this before, and I don't know what it is. It's quite nice though, and a little bit more processing. I just let them take what they want until they'd had enough, and then they flew off. But yes, all sorts. I've helped insects. I've had a number of students actually who've helped bees. And I remember being on holiday years ago, and a flying insect, I think it was a flying ant or something like that, flew into a book I was reading and landed on the floor, and just as it looked as though it was completely conked out. And I just thought, okay, I'll just offer you some Reiki very quickly, a little bit of movement. About 5 minutes later, it flew off, and I could really feel that energy. So yes, anything, as we know, anything that's living takes energy, and if they want it, we can offer the Reiki for them to benefit.
And we should. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all that. We're almost getting towards the end of the conversation, and I just am looking at a question here. Olympia says, I'm really enjoying this. Do I need to get veterinary approval or have a consultation form signed by a vet to have an animal Reiki treatment in the UK?
The answer is no. But you do need to make sure that you have made sure that if there are any issues or suspected issues of a health or behavioural aspect, then they have been checked by a vet first. You need to make sure that you have got diagnosis, but you don't need to have consent. What I would also recommend is that if you give Reiki to animals and the animals really benefit and they are under veterinary care, then you might like to prompt to the owner, maybe they might like to mention to their vet next time they go back that Reiki's also helped, because the more vets hear, oh, Reiki's helped here and Reiki's helped there, the more they might think, maybe I need to find out about this Reiki after all.
That's a wonderful idea. Everybody in a veterinary clinic, the people at reception, the nurses, the doctors, if you talk about that, even offer to give them some Reiki so that they can experience it for themselves. And then surely they will understand or conclude how animals will benefit as well.
Yes. I've just seen there's more of a comment than a question about a dog only accepting Reiki twice and then being clear that he's not wanting it. That can occur quite often with animals who would like Reiki if they are perhaps suffering in some way, or they feel as though they'd like it to help them for a particular purpose. But when they're fit and healthy and there's nothing wrong, actually they don't need it anymore. And there's quite a few animals who are like that. So that's fine. When they want it, they will take it, and we just go with that.
Fantastic. Again, thank you so very, very much for joining tonight. It's been fantastic, spectacular, really deep, and I just love all the stories. It's phenomenal. And your dog is called Baxter. And you also have a website called friendsofbaxter.org.uk, which is about animal rescue and helping animals. So it's more about actual animal Reiki.
Yeah, it's more about animal Reiki, training, some experiences, case studies, and general information along those lines.
Marvelous. Great. Thank you so much, Sue. And we will just chat a little bit after the show as well. And I would like to now take the last 10 minutes to do something that is really, really important. Give each other the support of Reiki. The beauty is when we use Reiki in a group, we are all receiving Reiki at the same time. We can send Reiki to everybody. So the love, the power of our heart, the intention of sharing, the power of oneness is all there. And yet at the same time, we are not just sending it, we are receiving it from all the others. So it goes in all the different directions, and it's just a very, very powerful experience. So I would like to invite everybody who is joining live right now, but also everybody who is joining and watching that at a later stage, because Reiki works beyond time and space. It will just work and be as powerful when you join in and tune in later. So I'd like to invite everybody now just to bring their hands together and connect to Reiki and take a moment to really feel the connection. And then just ask Reiki, where do I need Reiki today? And then move your hands slowly up, still together, to your third eye and follow your intuition. And just place one hand on that place. And now set your intention that with the other hand, you're sending Reiki out to everybody joining in this Reiki share. If you wish, you can utilize the connection symbol or distance symbol and draw that and set your intention to really deeply connect with everybody. And then just feel the connection with everyone. Just tune in for a moment and sense that you are sending Reiki to everybody who is right now and who is later connected to this Reiki share. And then at the same time also feel receiving Reiki from everybody else. Just relax, lean back, and enjoy the deep healing and love of Reiki. And while you receive Reiki and share Reiki, you may just want to remind you as well that we are part of a group, that we have support from Reiki and from fellow Reiki practitioners. You may already feel a change. And of course, Reiki continues working even after a treatment. So these moments of sharing Reiki will just continue to work with all of us. And then you can bring your hands back together for a moment and just thank Reiki, just thank the universe. And slowly come back into the here and now. And I'm looking at the time right now, and it's been exactly an hour we've spent together. A really beautiful, really inspirational hour. So thank you so much for joining in. If you do want more up-to-date information about what's going on, have a look at the Reiki Academy London.com. Scroll through the various YouTube videos on the YouTube channel. And please, I almost forgot that. I'm always, my videographer always says, I need to put that in. Please like and subscribe. It's really helpful to grow the audience, to reach organically more people with our work. And it also means that you will get an information notification for the next show, which is going to be same time, 8 p.m. UK time, next Tuesday, the 5th, I think, of July. And Yolanda, a wonderful Reiki master from San Diego, is joining us next week. So thank you for joining, thank you for sharing, and thank you for bringing more Reiki into the world. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, rest of the day. And I just need to understand what I need to do now. I think I need to press a button, and then I'll be away. And I look forward to receiving emails, receiving comments, staying in touch, and making this a real movement. Improving our lives with Reiki and making the world a better place. A real Reiki revolution from the heart.